This is Maestro Minute, the show that discusses all things real estate, sharing interviews with the most successful people in the industry. Hear from their perspective and what they are doing to achieve success. Get exclusive tips on how you can also succeed in real estate. Maestro Minute is brought to you by Maestro Development. Here's your host, Nareg Muradian.
What do they consider a sensitive receptor?
So we're talking about schools, we're talking about clinics, hospitals. Some state legislatures, they try to include like parks, for example. But oftentimes parks themselves are the buffer between an actual sensitive receptor, including homes, schools, hospitals, and industry. The parks serve as the buffer, right? Parks that have a lot of shade, for example, and rolling hills, that's a really good buffer to have. But sometimes they throw in the park as a sensitive receptor, and that's really not, that's not right, and it's taking advantage of what a clear definition of a sensitive receptor ought to be.
Yeah, and
so we killed this bill temporarily.
Temporarily.
Here's why it's temporary. It was a 2-year bill introduced in 2023, carried over into 2024. It's temporarily out of the killed because she knew she didn't have the votes in the local government committee. Getting our members mobilized and chiming in really, really was effective. And she pulled it. She pulled it from consideration before the hearing happened.
I see.
Now she's got till another month and a half, roughly, till the end of February, to introduce a new bill, possibly with amended language, with language that she may think would pacify and satisfy her base of so-called environmental justice activists.
Yeah.
She may localize it, possibly to strictly the Inland Empire instead of a statewide ban. But this is deleterious. It's deleterious for our industry. We're going to keep fighting this because you've got a lot of jobs on the line. You've got building trades, union jobs on the line.
Economy's impacted. Yeah.
Economy's impacted.
Supply.
Exactly. It would impact the supply chain in a negative way.
Right.
And the fact is that as a result of the COVID pandemic, as you know, Nareg, you've had this expansion of industrial facilities, logistics centers, 3PL warehouses, warehouses generally, cold storage warehouses. You've had this expansion happening because of demand, because of consumer demand. And you also have, older warehouses that are being purchased, torn down, and redeveloped into new Class A structures. And you know that, Nadia, you know this better than I do.
Yeah.
When you redevelop and build a Class A structure, you're talking about more environmentally friendly building materials that are being used, right? You're talking about like solar panels oftentimes on your roof. There's so much benefit, in terms of, decarbonization, in terms of just, trying to be more mindful of the environment.
I'll tell you from my experience with Maestro, in all the projects and developments we do, the main premise of all of them is that the supply can't keep up with the demand. There's not enough of infrastructure, and the existing infrastructure is failing. So everything we work on, whether it's healthcare, government projects, multifamily, housing, the demand is so great, and the infrastructure is either really old, is failing, or there's just not enough, right? And I think this warehouse ban would continue to elevate that even more. And you see Amazon, they're building these huge warehouses, right? I mean, we need to have local supply.
Yeah. And also in our infill areas of especially in Los Angeles County, the closer you are to the ports, and certainly our ports have rebounded in recent months in terms of more shipping coming through the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Part of that has to do with the Panama Canal relatively drying up, not allowing as much shipping on a daily basis through the canal. And part of it is also due to the crisis in the Middle East and the Suez Canal and shipping companies rerouting and going through the Pacific. So there's more shipping now happening over the Pacific Ocean, bypassing the Suez Canal, bypassing the Panama Canal, and going through West Coast ports. Certainly the ports of Long Beach and Los Angeles. You have in terms of intermodal rail. And commercial truck fleets, you've got a lot of improvement there.
It's all tied together, and if you have a hiccup in anywhere along that supply chain, and you don't have local resources, it causes huge havoc. Right?
That's exactly, and that's why infill locations, right? As close as you can be to the ports is so beneficial to so many logistics companies. So many companies that need warehouses and need to turn it around quickly, need to move the goods quickly, and so you but at the same time you see pushback from local and county governments as well, and you see it in the city of LA, you see it in the county of Los Angeles, you see it in certain cities like Pomona, where NAIOP SoCal, we're at the forefront of trying to defeat a draconian draft zoning ordinance that effectively would ban any kind of fulfillment-oriented or distribution-oriented facility that's greater than 22,500 square feet. It would put limitations on distribution-oriented facilities, especially those that don't have a manufacturing component to them. This is really draconian, and this is. We're leading the fight in Pomona. We have over the past roughly 6 months since this draft zoning ordinance came out, that they basically want to restrict fulfillment-oriented and distribution-oriented uses that have existed there for decades. Pomona being a manufacturing base, the aerospace industry being robust through 1980s, but a change happened in the 80s. A lot of abandoned facilities were purchased by commercial real estate developers and redeveloped, and you have a very a robust distribution base there and a manufacturing base. While the city is very amenable to manufacturers and manufacturing, they're not amenable to fulfillment oriented. So we're talking about trucks and trucking and also,
I mean, that whole region is all industrial manufacturing, right?
Exactly, and it's at the crossroads of so many corridors, both rail and highway. You've got multiple highways crisscrossing from the 57 to the 60 to the 71, and a lot of those arteries certainly connect to our ports. So, as does the railway that goes through Pomona as well. So, it's very important for the city in terms of tax revenue coming from the commercial real estate industry to the city. Commercial real estate industry makes up about, and industrial real estate in particular, 8% of properties in the city of Pomona. It's not really a huge percentage of properties. 8% isn't really.
Thanks for tuning in to the Maestro Minute podcast. Make sure to rate this podcast if you found it helpful, share it with a friend that could use it, and follow us on all major podcast platforms. The Maestro Minute, powered by Maestro Development.